Okay everybody, welcome back to the painting channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. Well, not quite that different, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. Let's roll the intro. Let's see what happens. Hi everybody and welcome back. As I said at the start, I am going to be doing something a little different. Or am I? Well, I've got to say sorry in advance because I'm doing yet another snow scene. But in my defense, there is a very, very good reason for doing it. I wanted to do it hot on the heels of a recent video I did looking at some of the techniques from a great master, Roland Hilder. And I wanted to do something very, very similar on a different piece of paper. Let me explain. Now, what I've got here is what purports to be a piece of white paper. Now, first thing is that it is not watercolor paper per se. This is actually printmaker's paper. Now, I'm not sure if the sizes upon it are different or radically different to that of watercolor paper. Now, I will say that I have tried it and it does work, so otherwise I wouldn't be doing this video for you and suggesting you look at this paper as an alternative. And I'm not saying you should rush out and buy it either, because I don't know how much this costs anymore. I've had this some time and I felt that it would be nice to try it out. The reason that I'm trying it out is it purports to be white, but if I put a piece of white paper next to it, you can see very clearly that this is absolutely not white at all. This is more of a very, very pale sienna color. And I felt that because of some of the washes that Roland Hilder would put onto his painting, I felt that it would be quite nice to have a go at doing a snow scene. It's going to be quite hard to get some of those whites looking white because we are going off of a toned paper surface. But I'm going to give it a go. It's a bit of an experiment, and if it works out, you'll get to see it, and hopefully you'll try something very similar. Now, as I say, the paper concerned is a printmaker's paper. If you haven't got toned paper from a printmaker, doesn't matter. If you have got toned paper that is watercolor paper, fantastic, have a go with that. And if you don't have any of those things, don't rush out and go and buy them. Just use ordinary watercolor paper. I'm sure you'll have so much fun with it and can use a lot of the techniques that I'm employing today in this painting in your own. So without further ado, let's get on and let's just see if it works out. Okay, so we have our square of paper, and just to remind you that it is very different in color. Okay, but if you're doing this on white paper, it really doesn't matter. You can put an increased wash on and let that dry first and foremost. Now, I am going to do a quick drawing, just a quick sketch to see where I want some of the component parts. Now, the painting or the photograph that I'm using is one of my own, drawn or painted, photographed locally when we had some snow a few years ago. We don't get a lot here, so it was really a great opportunity to get out there. So I'm going to put a fairly low, something like this, a fairly low hilltop coming up to a point there and coming down, and I'm going to suggest our little tree there. I'm not going to do any more than that, and then our field comes back up this way as a contour and our lovely little post. Now here we have got suggestions of sort of ridges of snow, some in light, some in shadow, and they ridge all the way up there in little scallops almost up to there, and then it drops away, and there is a slight bush there. You can put that in or leave that out as you wish. Well, I'm going to put in a little wash of color, and it's going to be done with a fairly large Rosemarine Company Red Dot series. This is a number 14, one of the largest ones in the series, but it does deliver a nice amount of paint as a wash, certainly on a small piece like this. If I was going bigger, I would probably use a hockey brush, something of that nature, to deliver more paint in a much more speedily fashion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a little bit of yellow ochre, not too much, a little bit to suggest a change in this paper. The paper itself is really beautiful, but I want to enhance that a little bit more. I'm going to put a little bit of Sienna to that as well. Very, very weak like tea solution. And when you've done this, you've got to be patient and let it dry. Okay, so I've made sure this is pretty much totally dry. So my next job is I'm going to use some ink. I wanted to draw some ink onto this painting. For this, I'm using, again, this waterproof document ink, which is the De Atramentis document ink. And I think I got this from Noodler's Pens, certainly the area in the UK. I'm not quite sure. I think they're called Pure Pens. So if you're looking for this, look on the Pure Pens website and you'll be able to find this ink there and be able to grab yourself some. Today I'm actually drawing with a sharpened matchstick. Now I've got a flat spatula like one here, which you can see if I turn it on its side, it's been shaped. This one is more of an irregular shape to draw with, and you can see I've already used this one anyway. Okay, so I want to make a very quick sketch of this tree up in here, and I'm just going to come in and just draw. Now I am not trying, deliberately not trying, to create exactly that tree. What's the point? I am trying to indicate or suggest this tree up in here, nothing more. And I'm going to use the edge of this as this. The nice thing about these pieces of wood, they absorb that ink in a bit. I think we're pretty much good to go on that one. I like our lovely little shrub bit. Now, what we mustn't forget is this lovely line of fence posts that have all been broken down over time. Now we've got the hill up here, which I've actually forgotten. I completely missed that. All right, so let's just use our little fence posts here. 1, 2, 3. Now that's a little bit inky, should I say, or dare I say. So I'm going to come back in and I'm going to take that off. Now you can see I've taken some ink away from my piece of wood. These can be taller, whatever I want them to be really. There we are. Some of them are falling over. Some of them have in fact fallen over. They've been collapsed down. So they really just suggest a line of something up through there. And then we pick up where the fence has been maybe made up again, and much further away and way up there on the top of the hill, all our lovely little fencing going through to that part there. Now mine goes up to the tree. In fact, it stops there somewhere. I'm not too worried about that. Up on here we have got some more fencing that is partially broken down as it comes back down to meet this one through here. There we go. And I think there's actually some more giving a suggestion to the contour of that piece of hillside through there. I quite like that. I'm going to put in these much bigger, stouter posts. They're the same size as the others, but of course they are that much closer to us. So I'm laying that piece of wood down, that matchstick down, and dragging it that way. And then I'm going to suggest on the thinnest edge, just suggesting a little bit of wire through there. And I want to put in some of these little divots, little shapes in our snow, suggesting of people's footprints maybe. I know mine are there somewhere because I have walked up this area. I think I was walked up here with my son on this particular day. Okay, so that's now dry enough to proceed with. What I'm going to be doing now is using a fairly large brush. This is the number 14 round of the Red Dot series, and I'm going to come in with some Ultramarine Violet. I do love this colour. It works very, very well as clouds, etc. on our painting. So there we have some nice amount of it. Don't ever, if you can help it, skimp. Try and make sufficient pigment to do the job you intend for it to do. And the consistency. Adding water is one thing, but if you want something that is very, very strong consistency like this is becoming, you do need to add the pigment to it as well. Now, if you want to leave that as it is, come in with another brush. Doesn't have to be the same size. It's merely at the moment to mix up some of the colour that I want to use in this painting. So I'm just going to come in there and I'm going to mix up a little bit of that, a little bit of raw sienna, a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'm just going to leave that there, and I can dip into that little pile if I wish to. Okay, first and foremost then are clouds, and I'm going to just come on and I'm just going to create my clouds. Pick up a little bit of that, make it a little dirtier. I just want to. And you see I've got a lot of sloppiness in my paint. I'm using the belly of the brush, that is this section here, the broader side, almost on its side, to create my beautiful clouds. Like that. Bit more moisture in places and a little bit more paint in others. Just watch. This is very flicky. This particular brush has got a lot of flick to it. And so you can come across it very easily if you're not careful. But I just want to suggest our clouds, and a lot more water in places. I want to let some of that fuse like that. Getting a little bit more ambitious with my marks. There we go. Now, as this comes down, I want to increase the warmth coming down into the horizon line, suggestive of some lovely sunset area that's beyond. Now I don't want to come further than my hilltop, so I'm going to be very careful now that I do not encroach into there. Take that all the way down and around. Now my paint is picking up. It's possible that it's not necessarily the ink that's doing that. It could be the paper not supporting that ink thoroughly enough. I'm going to bring a little bit more pigment, a little bit more of the reds into there. Just going to bring that through there. Just suggest that's a little heavier into there. Getting rid of those two marks there. Okay, I'll take a little bit off with some water. I'm just going to come through and just pick some of that, scrub some of that back, like that. Quite like that. We've got a lovely sort of sense of that foreboding cold weather that we get when we're looking at our snow. You know, you got a lovely snowy day and you can see sort of snow in the clouds. You know the sort of look that I mean, I'm sure. I'm just going to let that settle down. So whilst that's doing what it wants to do now, I'm going to mix a fresh colour. I'm going to use some of this lovely blue colour, but I'm going to come in with some cobalt blue to that, shifting it off the pure violet, something of that nature like that. But I want to put in a very, very weak wash to start with. So the top of my hill is going to remain pretty much that colour of the paper. I don't need to play with that. I just want to put this on through here and then let that sort of come back, and I want to soften that top edge. So I'm just going to clean most of the water out of my brush. Just run that down the side there so it's damp and it sort of makes that soft transition back to the paper. Okay, so on for the final part of this. This is pretty much all dried off enough now. That did bleed a little bit, as you can see. But what I'm going to do is come back in with a lot of my lovely ultramarine violet colour. It's a stunning colour. I love it. Look at this granulation in the sky. Fantastic. And you do see a lot of that in Roland Hilder's skies. That beautiful transition between these cools and the warm colours. But you see a lot of this granulation happening. I do like that an awful lot. Going to come in, as I did earlier, with some cobalt blue to shift that from the pure violet. But then I'm going to dirty the violet more. I'm going to put some Indian red, just a small touch, not that much, way too much. Just a little bit to knock it off its colourful axis. Give it a bit of a greying in sense. Okay, not too much water, but enough to make it flow. And just look at the shapes that you're trying to create. We're going to put a hard line in through there. This is one of the shadowy areas across the top of the hill there. And I'm just drawing in these sort of spaces. Just come this way a little bit. Trying to look at what I'm trying to depict. And again, if it's not exactly as the photograph suggests, please don't worry about it. I'm going to put a little ridge line through the top there, bring that down through as though that's got a bit of a bank, bit of a kick in the area before it goes into the next field. I think that works very, very well. Okay, carrying on quickly, we're going to have a little area there and another little suggested coming through there like that. And take the excesses off. Some of them are very hard. This one is suggesting that it's a little less obvious, maybe a little bit through there as well, just breaking some of that up a little bit, quite like that. And then we've got a nice area through here. These are, I guess, where the snow's drifted and has sort of created little mounds as that comes down there. I think that works very, very well. Now our little bit of red, we can come in and we can put in a suggested bit of stuff through here. little bit more blue as well. Just break up some of that colour. It's just suggesting that there is a bit of something underneath the tree. Like that. Soften that off. Doesn't need to be too aggressive, too hard an edge. It is in the photo. We don't need to do that in our painting. We need to suggest there is a transition, a change there. If we go too hard with it, it draws the eye off of other important places. Now, the only problem with this painting, if I'm completely honest with you, is we have 2 points of interest. Do you look here first or here first? Now, that can cause a bit of an issue when it comes to our focal point, but I think that is just strong enough over this to get away with it. And these 2 lines here lead up to that point. So I think, if I'm honest with you, I think we got away with it. All right, now I'm going to come in with a bit of blue, a little bit of red, and just mix that up a little bit. I just want to sort of put in a few of our little splatters into the bottom here, just to give some more interest to the foreground, like that. That's nice. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come in with one more thing, and then it's done. Okay, I think this is nice and dry enough to continue, and what I'm going to do simply is, well, I said one more thing, there are actually 2 more things, but this is one of them, and I've dried this off specifically just to come through and add a glaze wash over the whole of this area through the bottom here, just to help support the whole painting. That's the plan. Hopefully it's not too much, but I think it just helps. Just adds that lovely little sense of support on the bottom here, as I said, but also it accentuates this light area through here. So that's done, and the very, 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 very final thing that I'm going to do, I love putting birds in my sky, so I'm going to make birds again, and I'm going to put in, we haven't used too many colours in this actually. You know, we've used our sort of Siennas and Ochres and our Ultramarine violet, and we've pretty much only done the same thing here with the addition of a little bit of Indian red in there and a little bit of cobalt into our particular sort of colours down through here and into these drifts. Now the only other colour I'm adding in is just a bit of weak Payne's grey from up there, just a little bit of Payne's grey. Just going to take the worst off and then just quite literally put in a few crows or something that are flying through our picture. You often get lovely crows through this area. There's a lot of tall trees and woodland nearby at Lim. Rookery, great big rookery there. And so I just wanted to put in a few returning birds wherever. Another one right next to it there. Okay, everybody, I had a whole lot of fun with that. Now, I said to you earlier that if you haven't got that off-white paper, indeed the same printmaking paper, or indeed a coloured watercolour paper, just use white paper. It really doesn't matter. You can put a nice wash of raw sienna, yellow ochre over that, and let that dry thoroughly and get almost the same starting point if you wish to go that far. But certainly you saw what I did, and it doesn't matter what colour the paper is to start with. I just had it. I just wanted to experiment, see what happened. I think it worked out quite well. Now, if you've enjoyed this video so far, don't forget the reference I'm going to put onto my Patreon for you. It's free to download. You do not need to be a patron to download it and use it to learn from. That's what it's there for. And while you're over there, though, why don't you have a look around? You might just want to get involved in my Patreon. There's so much on offer, and it's being added to all the time. So I'd love to see you there. I'd love to welcome you on board. take a look. Now then, if you've got this far as well, you've enjoyed it, then please give it a thumbs up. That's fantastic. Add comments, do all of those things, share it to your friends. Lovely, and it really does help the channel grow and reach a lot more people around the world. But if you're not a subscriber, then please click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, but again, it really helps the channel grow. And I just want to say thank you to all the subscribers that have come on in the last few videos. Thank you ever so much for your support. I do know that it was down to, a lot of it was down to a lovely shout out from Jenna Rainey. So thank you so much, Jenna, and thank you so much for everybody who've come on board. In the meantime, I'm going to get set to do the next video. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. I'm not going to promise I'm not going to do another snow scene. I really love them, and you know, this was something that was doing snow in a very different way. So I'm sure you got something from that, and I'm sure you enjoyed it anyway. So until the next time, everybody, take care. Lots of happy painting. Catch each and every one of you soon. Stay safe wherever you are. All the best. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, welcome back. Now, how many times am I going to keep saying that? I've done that. Hi everybody, I had so much fun doing it. Well, I did. Had a lot of fun. Oh well. Let's crack on. So it doesn't really matter if you've got the exact... Hi everybody, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun, and I'm sure you'll produce something, and I'm waffling. I am waffling. I'm sorry about that. I am waffling again. Stop waffling. Start all that bit again, because that was doing quite well. Where can I pick it up from? No.